Guys, another gun build in Modern Warfare 2. Today I'm going to be going right back over the FTAC RECON just because it has been buffed so many dang times and I keep finding more stuff about this gun that just makes it heads over heels better than most assault rifles, especially its full auto counterpart or a little bit lighter and full auto counterpart, the M4. So this gun statistically is better than the M4 in every single way except for a little bit higher recoil and a little bit slower fire rate by actually a pretty good amount for fire rate, but it still has a faster TTK. It has the same, if not even faster mobility than the M4 when it comes to reloading. Not so much an ADS time or anything. It is a little bit slower than most all the other assault rifles, pretty dang close to being the lightest one out of the entire category here when it comes to mobility. But it has that going on, and it also has the hardest stopping power and longer range than all the other battle rifles in its category. What I've also figured out is that, since this last patch, this is somewhere in the beginning of Season 2, or just only a couple days after Season 2 launch, the gun has gotten a bunch of different buffs to it. One is increasing the one-shot damage range to the head, or actual its maximum damage range, but its one-shot damage range to the head anyway is also increased along with that, because it is within that effective damage range, or first effective damage range. So the gun is really dang cool, but in Season 1 they decided to buff the gun again because people just don't use it for some reason. They made it to where the hip fire is a lot tighter. If I actually showed a counterpart with the assault rifle here, the M4, this is going to be without any kind of grip on here, so I'm just going to run no grip, no nothing to actually help this thing out. But it's going to be kind of hard to tell from this because they are very similar, but with the actual FTAC, and then I'm actually looking at the assault rifle, you can pause this if you really want to, and you can kind of measure it with your own finger, and that's kind of what I did when I actually put my finger over the crosshairs, or the crosshair lines here, or at the very edge of them for the hip fire spread, when I'm stationary anyway. The FTAC RECON actually has a little bit tighter hip fire spread by default than the M4 would. So I think it's more along the same lines as being just a little bit worse than the STB 556 hip fire spread. So it is in a really weird middle ground between the light and assault rifle hip fire spread and the normal one. So it is already technically better when it comes to close range accuracy shooting from the hip. And this can be further supported with a longer barrel. I don't really have that on here. I have the smaller barrel. This is also going to be like the most preferred class setup I'm going to be going over as well. So it has pretty dang good hip fire spread. With a longer barrel, you can also have a one-shot headshot range increased to 20 meters with this thing. That is having the longer barrel and also tuning it to max damage range and recoil steadiness. If you want to put that on there, is more so damage range. You can actually get this maximum damage range from just the barrel, or the longer barrel on here, up to almost 50 meters. If you put on a suppressor on here, it'll make it to where it will go up to 50 meters or a little bit past that. So the gun is incredible when it comes to just standard damage ranges. Obviously, if you put on smaller barrels, you're going to lose that one-shot headshot range by just a little bit. And I want to go over this one today, and it is going to be the M4 version. That's why I have the name up here as M4, but it's going to be the most preferred kind of build for this kind of gun. Right off the rip, you want to go to the second smallest barrel in the game, or for this gun, and it is going to be the Tempest Trench Pro. So all it's going to be doing is mostly removing movement speed and aim down sight speed, but what's cool about it is that you don't really get a bunch of cons from this either, so it is like the weird middle ground. It's not going to be the lightest gun because we still want recoil control out of it, but it's not going to be hit as hard. So you'll have cons like the bullet velocity going to be reduced by a pretty good amount, and recoil control will get hit a pretty solid amount too, but it's not going to be too different from its original recoil pattern. It's also been buffed in recoil control a little bit more since Season 2. So it's not that bad at all. Actually, it's about normal as like the default version from the beginning of the game. So you have that going on for it. But what's cool about this smaller barrel, it will not decrease the damage range of your gun. So you will be able to have the same headshot multiplier or a headshot or one-shot kill to the head range than you would with just the standard barrel on here. So again, you want to put this on here. If you want to, you can increase the damage range. I just kind of tune it more so for aim walking speed and aim down sight speed, or actually more so aim down sight speed and recoil steadiness. Help out with that recoil mitigation a little bit more. When you put that on there, it'll make the gun to where it's a little bit lighter. I combine this with the FSS OLEV laser. That is so hard to say in a row. But you can put this on here, and I just kind of tune it for max aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed. The regular stats that come with it for everyone that actually uses this laser, it's the most widely used. You get aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and sprint to fire speed. Cons being visible laser when you're ADS, so you don't need to worry about it being visible when you're walking around, shooting from the hip. The fourth attachment I put on a sight is just a Slimline Pro optic, just to give me a better sight picture. You don't need to run it if you don't want to. This is going to be more to like a close and medium range kind of build, since it does have a way slower, less accurate kind of barrel, or way slower bullet velocity, less accurate barrel. You still keep the same damage range to it. It is going to be a little bit more suited for closer range, since it is going to be a little bit more inaccurate. So you can, if you want to, run the optic on there, and that's what I was running on here, but you don't need to if you don't want to. This is what the optics look like. If you guys are not familiar with it, it's okay. Like, you could still see targets pretty dang well, especially up to like 30 meters or so. Just kind of hard to keep track of it. So that's why I usually run the sight on there. So you can actually use a different attachment if you really want to. But after that, you want to go to your stock, and you want to go with the second to lightest stock in the game, so it doesn't hit you too hard with a bunch of downsides or a bunch of cons to there. So it's going to be the sweet middle ground, but you can also tune it to where it actually has about the same stats as the lightest stock in the game. So you can kind of beat the system a little bit. They did buff the tuning pros again for all the attachments, so you have less downsides while you're tuning them and way more percentage to the pros. So you technically can just kind of tune any kind of attachment you want to be the same as one right next to it. You can tune that, and I tuned it all the way for aim down sight speed and aim walking speed. So I'll make it to where it's a little bit faster. So you have 3 different attachments helping out your ADS speed. So now it has a little bit faster handling than the default handling for the M4 or normal M4. And if you want to, you can add a 4th attachment on here. More so, I would recommend just running a grip, because that is 2 different attachments hurting your recoil control at that point. So putting one on here that will actually help out would be really good. I recommend just running the very first grip that you get, which is the Commando 4 grip. It adds little to no weight to your gun. You can go to aim down sight speed and aim walking speed, so it already has enough recoil stabilization. So you keep a bunch of the pros on there. Even in full auto, you're able to melt people pretty dang well. So obviously this is the aim down sight speed without the optic or anything on there. Mostly attachments that help out with ADS speed. And this is with the M4 without any kind of attachments on. So it's about the same. If not, it's just maybe like a little bit slower. I don't really know. It's about the same, like about as close as you could possibly get it. But here's the thing though, the gun is up to at least 10 meters. You're still able to get yourself a one-shot headshot. Since it does have a tighter hip-fire spread by default than the M4, you still have a way better chance in order to get that one-shot headshot. If you are in single fire, that's the only way for you to get that headshot. If you go to full auto, you won't get that, but it will drop down your kills to still being 2 shots to the body. If you do land a headshot, you can land one up to the chest or anything, and you can let the recoil carry you up to the head there, and you get yourself a 2-tap like that. and that will drop down your time to kill by like 150 milliseconds, which is really cool. The normal TTK is 218 if you're running it in full auto. The M4 has 222, so it does have a better TTK than the M4 just by a little bit. I really doubt you're going to really see the difference between the two, but it is technically faster, and it has way better close range properties. So again, this is a gun that hits hard, has the longest one shot to the head ability. If I have the longest barrel on, I'll be able to shoot this guy in the head right here and get myself a one-shot kill, but obviously I'm not running that barrel on there. So that's for a different build. If you guys want to see that, you can just go further back in my channel and find that whole build. It's more or less like the marksman rifle version of this gun. This is supposed to be more like the aggressive build that people are going to be running more. The only real downside to this gun that holds it back from even being talked about is the fact it only has a 10-round magazine by default. The 5-round magazine, you would never want to use this thing unless you are building it strictly for DMR kind of play style. 5 rounds is just something you do not want to have. Again, you need 2 rounds at minimum anyway when it comes to effective damage range in order to kill someone. That's almost already half of your magazine. So 15 rounds at most. So it's just not good when it comes to magazine size, but you can run fast hands or some other perks if you want to kind of counteract the whole thing. So it's not too bad at all. As again, like about the same type of attachments here. You can also run the optic on there if you want to and get a better sight picture all the way out to that kind of range. So full auto again, we're able to mow people down. In semi-auto, it's 120 milliseconds in order to kill someone. And again, in full auto, if you hit yourself a headshot and then the body, or the body to the headshot, you get 150. So this thing still has a way better time to kill in semi-auto. That's about as fast I could possibly fire a gun just by semi-auto. And then shooting in full auto is just a little bit faster, so there's not really too much of a difference between fire rate. So normally I just keep it in semi-auto. You're not really going to be losing anything out of it. And technically with the one-shot headshot and the tighter hip fire spread, you can also put on more attachments to help that out if you want to for closer range. You can build this gun to where it is practically impossible to make it bad. It will, no matter what you do, you can put on like the smallest barrel and make it to where the recoil is incredibly bad. The damage range and the actual just overall raw damage that it puts out is more than enough to still keep it good at longer ranges in single fire. Obviously in full auto it's going to be making it to where it's really challenging, but you can do that. But no matter what, the gun is already too good when it comes to mobility, so you make the gun to where it's really freaking fast and it still hits hard, so you still have really good stats for the gun when it comes to that. Or you can make it to where it's like a DMR, to where you have increased super accuracy out of here, still really good reload speed, good hip fire accuracy, and one-shot kill potential, especially with a larger barrel. You just extend that even more. So now you make it to where it is better close range and long range. So it is impossible or near impossible to make this gun completely bad. So it is all around incredibly flexible. This is why I would recommend running though. Just put on the grip to where it gives you the least amount of weight to your gun and run all 4 of these attachments. And I think you guys will have a fun time. If you do want to remove like the optic or the laser, which won't give you as much benefits for the actual gun here, or if you can control the recoil, especially in close ranges, which is more so where this gun's supposed to excel in with this kind of build anyway, you can run the 15 round magazine and just swap out this weight for the 15 round, and you can have a little bit more forgiving gun if you want to use it in semi-auto, or you don't want like to reload every so often. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think about this build down in the comments. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.